Right then folks, welcome back to the channel and a new video on the RS2000 tube chassis project. Now I want to take a second to thank all my subscribers for sticking by for the last few months until that last video come out. I know that took absolutely ages for me to get a video done, so thank you very much for sticking by, and it was actually really nice to talk to some of you again, so thank you very much. But we are hitting the ground running on this video folks. As you would have seen in the last video, if you've watched it, we got a whole lot done on this thing. So we got the jig installed into the car, and we run a hell of a lot of tube work to said jig to tie it all into the car. Now in the end of the last video, I actually asked you guys on your opinions on how you think I should join in these rear trailing arms into all of this tube chassis, and I think we've got a solution. So what I've found after scouring the internet for a few hours is that various companies actually offer a strengthening kit for the E36 chassis because they're prone to rusting and tearing and things like that. So what we've got here is one of said strengthening kits. We don't need all of this material. This is all just for where it wraps up around the chassis legs and whatever. So we'll be cutting a good portion of this apart. And then on these strengthening kits, you also get a slightly larger basket as well, which allows you to adjust your toe that little bit more on the rear end. So all of that is absolutely ideal. So what we need to do is firstly weld this out. As you can see, I've already tacked it together after sort of making it fit as best as I can. So we need to fully weld that and the other one, and then we also need to weld in all of these three bits here. So once we've welded them in and welded those up, we can then pop them in position like that, weld them to the plates and to these nuts as well, just to give them a bit of extra support. And on this one here, I actually want to brace that because there's a bit of a gap between the basket and where that bolt comes up. So try and brace that somehow just to give that a bit of strength. And then we can pop these in the car and actually start running some tube work to them. I think once they're in the car, it'll all become a bit more clear and obvious on how the best way is to do that. So yeah, I'm not very well at the moment and I'm just about to lose my voice, so bear with me. But with that being said, I think the best thing to do for the here and now is get you guys over to the bench. We'll weld this out and give my throat a little bit of a rest from talking. It's time to bust out the TIG welder folks. Now I would like to upgrade this machine at some point because, I mean, it's a great machine, don't get me wrong, but I don't know how to use half of this stuff on this thing. And thanks to the instructions being in Polish, I can't figure out how to use this machine either. So if you've got any suggestions on something I can replace this with that actually has some English instructions, then drop your suggestions below. Now we are obviously going to be TIG welding all of this. I absolutely love TIG welding. I just think it's so therapeutic. You sit down, get in your zone and just go for it. I mean, yeah, it takes a lot more time. I mean, something like this with the MIG, you'd be done in a couple of seconds. It's going to take a little bit longer with a TIG, but it just comes out so much cleaner, man. You don't end up with slag everywhere. You don't end up with big slugs of welds. And I prefer it. If I could do that whole car with a TIG machine, I'd be all about it, but it will take way too long. Now I've been out and bought myself a new helmet as well, because what you didn't know or see in the last video is that my last helmet, halfway through the video, actually completely gave up. It did not want to work at all, so I ended up with Archive, well, almost ended up with Archive halfway through that video, which wasn't ideal. So we've been out, got ourselves a new helmet, so hopefully now I'll be able to actually see what I'm welding, and fingers crossed, with any luck, it'll actually come out really well. So let's pop you on a tripod, I'll get suited up and we'll start welding this all together. they are looking pretty darn good, if I don't mind saying so myself. Weld's come out alright, I guess. Can't really complain too much. I did dip the tungsten in it a couple of times, I won't lie. But for the most part, both of these are welded out. The only thing I've got left to do now is make some little infill pieces for down here. So I want a little bit on the front and then a little bit on the angle just across the back there, just to strengthen this one, and then it'll be the same again for that. But these are absolutely piping hot still at the moment, so I'm going to leave them be, and then I'll probably do those little bits off camera because you don't really need to see all that. So in the meantime, back to the car. I've got a plan of attack which is going to be basically making my tube that goes from this side of the main hoop to that side of the main hoop, and then in the middle here somewhere I want 2 upstands that will then go to that tube going across, and that will then, where that goes through there, form the basis of where our tunnel is for the prop shaft and the exhaust to go through. So I won't be welding that in, however, because I do still want to be able to get in and out of the car without making my life a misery. So I'll get them made and then we'll set them aside until all the back end's done, and then we'll weld that in. So let's get a tape measure, get some cutting stuff, cut some tube and make that bit happen. Well, that went very, very well. I almost screwed up, mind you. I almost cut my notch on this main tube here with the 45mm hole saw bit, so that would have ruined that. So I'm glad that I picked up on that before I took that too far and screwed that bit of tube up. But overall, happy with that. I do still need to trim these down ever so slightly. They are, I did cut them a little bit taller than I needed, just so I've got some scope to move down. But like I say, I'm not welding that in just yet, because I would still like to be able to get in this area to do more stuff on the back here, because I would still like to run a crossing on top of the subframe and possibly a tube from there to there, and also need to get to the rear trailing arms. So we will get into welding this once we've done the trailing arms and done those bits. And I'm in two minds after talking to John about perhaps running a tube in from the main hoop down at a diagonal, picking up on the front of this subframe on both sides, because as it stands at the minute, once I get those bits braced in there, everything triangulating this front section is all on the same plane. There's nothing really coming downwards on it, so I think that might be a good shout on John's part to actually run something downwards, so it's got less chance of wanting to rise, if that makes any kind of sense whatsoever. And I've also, off camera, been playing around a little bit, because after looking at this for many cups of teas, I decided that it didn't quite look complete. So I've now added in that tube and that tube, which I think kind of completes that whole back there, in my eyes at least. Obviously I still need to run tubes across to pick up on the back of the car, but we'll get to that a bit later on. That's more sort of bodywork stuff. So yeah, I've also now got my rear trailing arms all sorted out. Again, done all the gusseting on this part here off camera, because it was a lot of faffing about and I didn't really see the point in showing you guys that. But all in all, they've come out pretty well, and as you can see, I've actually mounted my trailing arm bracket to our mounting point that's going in the car. And yes, I know I've mounted it upside down, and that is because I mounted these upside down in the shell when I made my jig to make life easier for getting tubes away to make the jig. So it is all in hand, don't worry. I know they're upside down, they will be getting flipped back over when everything starts getting bolted into the car. So next step is going to be, as you can see, I've already got that one mounted to the bucket or whatever you want to call it. I need to mount that one to this one, go and chuck them in the car and start figuring out how the hell we're actually going to run some tube into all this lot. Well, the trailing arm mounts actually sit in the car pretty well, but obviously I have had to cut out a fair bit of bodywork to accommodate these things, so I will have to go back at some point and attach all the bodywork back onto the rear trailing arm mounts as well. But I'll do that once the car's back on the rollover jig. Another thing I'll have to do, I'm not too sure if you're going to be able to see on camera, but I'm going to have to cut some sort of relief in the seal so I can actually access the bolt that's there and there for the trailing arm. But I'll do that once the car's on the rotisserie, make that all nice and close all of that area off to the elements. But that is going to be a little bit later down the line. Now, whilst I've been off camera, because yeah, I just get sort of stuck in my own little world sometimes, I've been playing around with a bit of scrap and come up with that in terms of mounting point for the trailing arm baskets to the roll cage. This one I'm actually quite happy with. I quite like the way that looks. This one, however, I think I need to revise that because I'm not overly happy with how that one looks. I think it looks a bit pants, to be honest. So yeah, what we'll do is I'll pick you guys back up tomorrow when I'm down here. We'll get that dreaded tube bending contraption out, which we all know how well that went last time. And we will revise that tube there and see what we can make happen. But overall, I think we're on the right path of that idea. So once we've got those two trailing arms attached into the cage, we can then start fitting that tube that we've just recently cut along with the down bits here and start finishing off all this back end. Hopefully get the subframe in by the end of this video. Fingers crossed. Right, see you tomorrow. We are back, folks. I was hoping to spend the entire day down here, being a Saturday, but yeah, that didn't quite go to plan. However, I have had a couple of hours down here, and as you would have seen in the last clip, we had this piece going on, which goes right about there. Now, I'm sure you agree, that looks pretty naff, and it probably ain't the strongest thing in the world. So that one is going in the bin, and I did go ahead and make two other options. Second option was going to be this, which goes in something like that. Again, with it having a bend in it, it's probably not exactly the strongest thing, and it still don't look particularly great, to be honest. So again, that one's going in the bin. Like I say, I'll put this out to vote on my Facebook thing, and it was pretty unanimous. Everyone said straight is the way, and to be honest with you, I reckon out of all of them, that looks the best, and it's probably got way more structural integrity in that than any of those two. So we're going to rock with that. I am going to keep this one because I quite like the kinky bendy bit. Yes, we could just put a straight tube in and triangulate it and blah blah blah, but my plan is to actually make some gussets that will go in and fill this area, and again down here to fill this area, which should be joined all up. So that should give it all the strength in the world, not to mention the fact that I'm tying it into the body of the car down there as well. So all in all, if that goes anywhere, then we've got other problems. So let's go ahead and cut another one of those, cut another one of those, and try and bend it, God help us. And then we can get two pieces for this side, get them welded in, and start working on that cross over there before we start putting this piece in. We are getting somewhere, folks. Right, let's go and see if we can work this tube bender out and hopefully not have any casualties this time. Bosh, we are done, folks. That is both these tubes done on this side and both these tubes done on this side. I won't lie, trying to weld around the back of this tube down here was a nightmare. I ended up holding a mirror facing back on that just so I could get the weld into it. But yeah, it's not pretty, but at least I know it's welded both the tubes together, so that's the main thing. I can grind it back somehow, some way, if I can actually get something in there to grind it back. The next phase though is going to be making a cross above the diff. I just want to try and support these 4 points as much as possible. So I'm going to go from that back corner to the front, that back corner to this front one, and then we'll put a piece across the front as well. And then that is triangulate everything above the diff and on the subframe side of things. So let's get back to the grinder, start cutting some bits and pieces out, and hopefully make that look half sensible. made some huge progress, folks. Look at that. It looks absolutely wild in this car now. I am so made up. So as you would have seen, I've done the cross above the diff and added this tube in here with the 2 down drop bar bits. What you wouldn't have seen, however, is me doing this cross which braces the front end of the subframe mounting points, because let's face it, it is all quite repetitive, all this. It's just me cutting a tube, grinding the crap out of it and then welding it in the car. So you'll have to let me know if you're getting fed up with watching this, because like I say, it's quite repetitive and I don't really want to be boring you guys to sleep. So yeah, but what can I say? I'm stoked with how this is coming out so far. I do still need to go around and weld the underside of some of these tubes that I can't quite get to whilst on the bench, but we shall do that once the car's on the rollover jig and I can actually roll the car on its side and get to everything without any faff, basically. So I think the next thing to do is going to be cut this jig out, because we are pretty much at a point now where everything is where it needs to be and the jig doesn't need to be there anymore. The only thing I think I still need to do is add a tube in from here down to the top of the rear subframe mounting point on both sides, because as it stands at the minute, this tube and this cross both pitch upwards towards the front mounting point, and I kind of feel like we need something coming downwards to stop it wanting to try and lift up. I mean, it's probably not ever going to happen. I mean, everything's all welded in, it's quite rigid. But I kind of feel like we need something going downwards towards it. So you'll have to let me know in the comment section below, see what you guys think. But that can be done at a later date, because when I do that, I also want to do my harness bar across here and tie it into that. Because as it stands at the minute, my only real gripe with all of this is this tube here on both sides. I wish I'd 4-4 it and put this one up at the same height as this one, so this would have intersected it. That is my only real thing that I don't like too much on this, but overall happy with everything else. It's all coming out very, very well. So yeah, stoked, man. Right, let's set about cutting this jig out, and then we can dig out the E36 rear end underneath the table there and see if this sucker fits, because that's going to be a monumental fail if it doesn't line up. So fingers crossed, wish me luck. Let's get the jig cut out of this thing. Oh yes, folks, we have got the jig out. I will be honest, that was a bit of a chore, I won't lie. Trying to get that thing out of the car was not as straightforward as I'd hoped, and that is because the sheer lack of clearance I had here and the fact that I had to try and pivot it down to get out of my suspension turret bits, it meant it snagged on the bolts coming out of the subframe mounting points. So it was a bit of a faff, but we prevailed. We come out the back of it and we now have nothing at the bottom, which means we can fit the rear end finally. However, I have tacked the car to the table. Once I squared it off to the table, I did tack it in place, because obviously moving in and out of the car, there's every chance I might have knocked it out of square. So I need to cut the tacks on the back here, a couple along the front there, and then we can jack the whole car up, because as it stands at the minute, I haven't got the clearance between the table and the mounting points on the subframe to actually get the rear end in. So we'll jack the whole car up, pop it on top of some box section or something to give us the clearance, square it all off to the table again, and weld it back to the table so we're ready to move on with the front afterwards. And then we are going to fit the rear end. I am so excited about doing this, but equally I am stupidly nervous. I really hope I haven't made any cock-ups on this. So I shall pick you guys back up when I'm down here tomorrow, and we will get that rear end in here, and pray to God that the wheels sit central in that bit, back arch. Wish me luck, folks, wish me luck. I'll pick you guys up tomorrow. The tacks are cut, people, and the nerves are kicking in. The car is now free of the table. I can lift the front up and I can lift the back up. So it's no longer attached to the table. So the next plan is going to be lifting the whole car up and placing it down on these sections of I-beam that I've just cut out. So I've got 4 sections of I-beam. One's going to go there, one there, one there, and one there. I will then weld those to the table. Once they're welded to the table, I'll square the car off to the table and then weld the car to the I-beam. That way we can move on with the next phase, which is going to be tackling all the front end here. And I want to do that before I've got all the excess weight of all that rear end in the back, because that is going to make my life a hell of a lot more difficult to shunt the car around and get it square. So that is the plan. Let's get this thing jacked up, get it placed on those, and then I'll probably square it all off camera, and then we're ready for the finale, which is going to be fitting this rear end. My God, I'm so nervous about this. Right, let's get this car jacked up, shall we? Yeah, buddy. We have done a thing, people. We have done a thing. And I did not screw it up. Look at that. That is absolutely spot on. I honestly cannot believe I've pulled this off. We have officially got an E36 rear end in the back of my Escort. What a job. That has come out spot on. Fitment is absolutely perfect. Now these wheels that are fit, well, this wheel that's fitted currently is what was the front wheel on a wide arched E36. So as you can see, that fits perfectly. However, if we go round to the other side where I've got a rear wheel from that E36 fitted, it sticks out a mile off. So just for comparison, there's my hand. So we've got a 6-inch lip on this one, whereas on the other side it's only a 4-inch lip. So I need to re-barrel and re-lip what was the two rear wheels to match these two front wheels, because I would like to run these come the end. Obviously get them all refurbed and what have you, but I would like to try and keep them. So these are 17-inch rotiform something or others, but they're a 40-hole lip and barrel. So if anyone knows anyone that supplies 17-inch lips and barrels with a 40-hole, let me know, because I would like to get them sorted out. But I am so stoked, folks. There's a few little things that I still need to sort out. I think I'm definitely going to go with the idea of putting another tube in down to the front of the rear subframe mounts, just to strengthen that up a little bit. So we'll go down there, across the front of it, and then back up to the other side of the main hoop. And I also need to go ahead and cut some pockets in down here in the steel, just to make my life a bit easier trying to get the rear trailing arm out of there. Because I won't lie to you, that was a bit of a struggle trying to get that in there. So we need to cut some reliefs in that to make that a little bit easier in the future. But all in all, let's stand back and have a look at this thing. I cannot believe I've pulled this off. But that is going to be a wrap for this video, folks. I think the next step is going to be jumping onto the front. I think we'll leave the back end for now. I will get around to doing those extra tubes at some point, but I think next step is going to be getting onto the front, because I'd love to get this thing to a point of where it can roll and we can take it off the table and do everything down at a bit of a nicer level where I haven't got to keep trying to climb in and out of the car all the time. So yeah, you have to let me know what you think in the comments, but I am absolutely over the moon. If you stayed this long and watched the whole video, thank you very much. And if you like stuff like this, feel free to give us a sub. Plenty more to come, and we have still got to jump back onto the Quattro Escort. So what we're going to be doing in the next video, I don't know, so put your votes below. Do we carry on with the front end of this one, or do we jump back onto the Quattro Escort for another video on that? I'll leave that down to you guys. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more, and I'll see ya on the next one. Peace.